1, 2, 3. Don't F with me, the podcast. Yeah.
Don't f with me.
Welcome to another episode of Don't F With Me, the podcast. I am your host, Chubby.
And I'm also your host, OG Tega, in the building. Don't know.
Every time, don't know,
my G.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, what are we here to talk about today?
Chubby, it's a very exciting topic.
The opposite, this love that we just is the opposite that I want to talk about today.
That's so. Talk to me then.
But some people don't always know that it's not it. It's often confused with love. Do you know what I want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about toxic behavior.
Ooh, toxic.
I want to talk about toxicity.
Toxicity.
Sometimes that's a hard word to say. Toxicity.
They can just say toxic AF.
Toxic AF.
Don't know.
Some situations are just toxic AF.
What do you feel about that? I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, first of all, I think it's probably worth looking into the meaning of toxicity. Like, what is toxic? Like, what does that mean when you say someone has toxic behavior? Like, for me, I think it's behavior that is selfish, manipulative. I think it's behavior that causes someone pain, stress, frustration, just negativity, particularly as it relates to like your mental health. So in my mind, that's like what toxic behavior is, right? So just thinking about that, the first thing that's coming to me is, how do we identify it? Since we're saying, what is it really? Like, how do I, what are the red flags? I don't know if anything comes to your mind when you think about that.
Red flags. Oof. There are plenty. Where should I start from? OPG, OPP, Okpo.
Alright.
There are a lot. So, when we're talking about toxic traits, right? People are different, and like different things trigger different people.
Facts.
Right?
Yes.
So I think it's a personal thing, and you need to understand what triggers you personally, right? So you can be in a relationship with someone who parties hard, who's a clubber, and like goes out at night, but you're a more restricted person. Like, you have nothing against that person going out, but then, maybe it's like the things they do while they're, maybe they're into fights, and like they, maybe they don't sit, they don't like interact very well with like in social gatherings when they're like when they're intoxicated.
Yes,
you understand?
Yes.
And those kind of things like affect you.
So they're being toxic whilst being
intoxicated.
Come on.
Talk your shit.
Come
Yeah.
on.
So, in those cases, you understand that, okay, this thing triggers you and you're not comfortable in that relationship with this person behaving like that. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, like, and it can be different things. Like, some people are triggered by the least possible things, which are even like someone else would think it as, oh, this is menial. Like, I heard someone talk about something yesterday, and they were like, the person was saying like, you shouldn't dismiss, okay, like as a guy, you should, like women are a lot more emotional than men. They're more in touch with their
Some women
okay,
are a lot more emotional than some men.
Some men are more, some women are more emotional than some men. So he was trying to say like, as an emotional person, right? You as a lady, you should always try and like communicate your feelings to your guy, right? But then as a guy, just because you're not as emotional as she is, doesn't mean like what she's going through like isn't valid, right? Doesn't matter. Some guys kind of invalidate that feeling because they are not as in tune with their feelings as the girl is.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating when they invalidate the feeling, but they're the one that triggered the feeling.
Woo!
Do you understand?
True.
Like you don't like when people trigger you, then they'll not be saying, calm down now.
Yeah, is it not just
what's your own? Don't try me.
Those are the annoying ones.
In fact, you trigger me, you do that. Then by telling me to calm down, you're triggering me again.
More.
Do you understand? So I think like triggers, absolutely triggers. And I think a lot of the triggers link to the red flags, right? So it's things like selfish behavior. In my opinion, it's things like selfish behavior.
Okay.
It's things like inconsistency. It's things like, you said you were going to do this, but you didn't do it, and then that becomes a pattern of behavior. It's things like...
So it's not one-off.
It's not one-off, For me,
it's repetitive.
I think anybody can do something a bit silly
once in a while. Yeah.
But
it's
when
human.
there's a pattern of behavior, that's when there's a problem.
Yeah.
You're not keeping to your word. You're dismissive of my feelings. Or even gaslighting.
True.
Which is kind of similar to what you're talking about in
Yeah.
the sense that somebody comes up and says, oh, you did this, da 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 da. And then you now try to make the person feel as if, no, they were dreaming it.
Like,
or it
it's,
didn't
it's
happen,
not as
or it's not
important.
as deep as they're making
exactly.
it seem
Don't make it that
you
deep.
know?
Like, it's not that deep.
And for me, all
but
of
it's
those
deep for
things-
me.
Exactly, it's deep for me. And if it's deep for me, then it's deep for all of us.
Exactly.
man.
I think that took me like a long while, like in previous relationships, like before I even got like emotionally intelligent up of till this point today.
Are you saying you're emotionally intelligent?
I am emotionally intelligent. The fuck? What are you talking about?
Okay.
I'm on, don't F with me. I need to be emotionally intelligent for this.
Okay.
Yeah, so before I got to this point where I feel like I'm a lot more emotionally intelligent, so I was that person, right? And like it hurt a lot of my previous
So when you say
relationships.
that person, explain that you were.
I was very dismissive. Do you understand? Because I wasn't that in tune. Like a lot of things, I'll just brush off and be like, "It's not that important. Like, don't take it that seriously." And like a girl can tell me, "Oh, you didn't call me in the morning, or like you didn't text me in the morning, or you didn't text me at night, or like a whole day went by without." In my head, it's like I have work to do. I shouldn't be texting you every day, but it was important that. Like, she didn't want to be on the phone with me for 2 hours or something, but like that little hey in the morning.
That little bit of communication.
Just hey in the morning, or like hi. Like
touching
sometime in
base,
the day, just touch base with her.
Yeah.
And like I was like, it's not that deep. Like, why should I be like, you are taking it too seriously?
Yeah.
And like I would dismiss it and I would repeat that pattern, right? So I was constantly doing that because I felt like it wasn't serious
a
enough.
problem for you, it shouldn't be a problem for anybody.
Yeah, for anybody. But she didn't see it like that, and it started to show up in her actions, and like she started becoming like more irritable and stuff like that. And I was like, why is this person taking this thing too seriously?
So that's interesting because like now you've said how she responded to that, right? And that's now like just making me think like, what are the best ways to engage with, interact with, or just deal with a toxic situation or a toxic person, right? Because it's a bit tricky from what you're saying, because obviously people are at different stages of awareness.
If you're talking about dealing with the toxic person, right?
Yeah.
So
like
this
now
is
the
person being
about,
treated badly.
So the person now saying, I just want to hear from you, but you don't take the time out to communicate with me or just touch base, or just let me know how you're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you say you will, but you don't. And when I bring it up, it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
So someone like her now, thinking about you and the space that you were in when you were doing that, because obviously, like you said, emotional intelligence was not the way there.
It was not the way. You have to be very introspective about that.
Exactly. So keep in mind who you were. What would have been the best way for someone to deal with someone like you?
Someone like me.
Yeah.
It's to call me out on my shit, actually. Like, put your foot down and call that person out on their shit.
Yeah.
So, like, at that point, it was completely irrelevant to me. Do you understand? It was like, this is such a big deal you're making out of it, and it's so unnecessary. Like, why should I be checking on you every day or, like, calling you every single day?
Yeah.
Like, I have a life to live, and you have a life to live. As much as we're in a relationship together, we're still our own separate individuals. Do you understand?
Which is true.
Yeah? Yeah, so I was like, even if I call you, like, every like 2 days or something, like it's not a big deal. Like, do you understand?
But for
I
her
still
it was.
like but for her it was, but like in my mind, I still really like reverenced her above every other girl like I met. Do you understand? She was top of the line in my mind, but doesn't mean I have to be on the phone with you constantly. So for you, if for you like it's doing something in your spine, like they took you for body, look, just open your mouth and say something is wrong. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like this is really getting to me, and like thrash it out at that point. You can like nudge the idea like a couple of times, and when they are dismissive, before you now like blow out or like react, but like you make sure you make your stance known, like 100%. You can't like be on the fence about it or be like too nice about it.
Yeah.
So if you are not doing that and showing them that it's serious, do you understand? That reaction is what shows the person that, oh, this is actually serious.
Yes.
Like, do you understand? If you're actually blowing out like this, now let me sit down and listen to what you have to say.
Because what I find about these types of situations where someone is like dismissive or exhibiting toxic traits or whatever, is sometimes the other person is scared to approach them, because a lot of people who are like that are very, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, if I am I going to make it an issue?
They're very in your face about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if I now say something, am I going to make it an issue? Am I going to cause a problem where there wasn't a problem? Keeping in mind now, if there's gaslighting, you're not even entirely sure if this problem is in your mind or if this is a real problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but in that case, right? In that case, there are different ways to go about it. I think it depends on you and what your special, like, what your specialty is. If you're good at communicating, if you're a people person, like, and you understand, I think it's easier for you to just talk to the person about it.
Yeah.
But then something that you can do, which in my opinion,
I feel like you want to start problems. I feel like you want to. What's the other thing? What's the other thing?
But like, I was gonna say, in my opinion, I think it's low-key toxic in its own, right?
Yeah.
But like, for example, like if you're a girl, like, and you're on the receiving end, for example, right? Girls always have a way of, talking without talking, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So they always know how to voice their opinion very loudly without even saying a word. No verbal. There's some looks she will give you. There's some attitude that will come your way, and like the attitude is so foul. Like the room is thinking of this attitude. Like she's overwhelming the place, and you just feel uncomfortable in your own house, in your own room.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
It's good for you.
Exactly. So there's communication even without verbal communication.
Yeah.
So you can always use a certain approach that is not direct, but then I will send the message that you want to send across.
So now that you said this thing, you just made me think of something.
Yeah.
So I've encountered certain people in the past that have not had the best behavior, right? And it's usually around things like communication and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I found that, it's funny that you said what you just said now, because I found that sometimes I find myself becoming toxic as a response to their toxicity.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yes.
Like, it's low-key in
It's
itself,
not that I
toxic
wanted
as
to,
fuck.
but it's like, okay, if you're now going to be forming, you don't have, your sense is not telling you that when you care about somebody, you should be communicating with them regularly. Okay, me too now, I don't have your time.
Yeah.
So if you now decide to wake up and text me, I see it, but I don't see it. Or if you now call me, oh, it's ringing. Oh, it's ringing.
Let me just, you know that
Nice.
meme?
I didn't know my phone
Have you
did
seen that meme of that baby that looks at the
That's me. That's me. I'll be like, oh.
It's ringing.
Yeah.
And you like dance to your
Shady
ring.
baby face. Like, okay,
Dance to your ringtone for like
and then sometimes
good 2
I catch
minutes.
myself and I'm like, but this is not who you
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
And then sometimes you even get frustrated because like you're not that way, but somebody's being that way.
And it's making you.
Yes, because you
who
almost
you're
feel
not.
like the only way you can speak to them is through their language of toxicity. The only way I can deal with you is by showing you how you're dealing with me.
Yeah, that's why I said it's always better to just have a conversation about it. If you want to go a different route, you can try that, but like you have to know the balance. Like there's a limit to it. Do you understand? You have to make sure that person doesn't turn you into them.
Yeah. So I think one of the ways, like a healthy way to deal with toxic relationships, toxic people, at least the way that I've been utilizing more recently, because I just think it's a better alternative to, toxic versus toxic, is setting boundaries and having healthy boundaries. I think the issue with boundaries sometimes mean that you may not get the relationship that you want with that person.
That's facts. I like that.
And you just need to accept that that is it.
For a fact.
You may not get the relationship you want with that person.
Do you know, I spoke to someone recently, and the person was like, what did the person say? She was like, she was in love with this guy, or like she just fell in love. And she's not usually even like, she wasn't even looking for a relationship, but she just found herself, very attracted to this guy. And then the guy was not even her spec, but in a way, he had like the persona of who she wanted, do you understand? And then the guy wasn't matching up on the kind of things that she wanted, like in terms of setting boundaries. So the guy wasn't matching up to some certain things, but she just found that she was so, like, I would call it infatuation. She was infatuated with this guy, do you understand? So she was willing to backseat her boundaries just so she can pursue this relationship, even though the red flags were there. Do you understand? So some people are not even honest with themselves to the point where they feel like, okay, I need to recognize these red flags and just call it a day on this, like, this is not going to work out.
They're not ready to let go
of
the idea of what relationship
of what this could be, of what they could have had. And that ultimately ends up in like 99% wrong relationship, like horrible experiences.
So it's like exactly what you said. So that thing about red flags, I think a lot of the times people think they think the red flag that maybe it's not permanent marker.
That they used to paint the red flag.
Maybe it's
they just use crayon.
Or nail polish. By the time we can't read nail polish remover,
I will just wipe it.
Bruh, sometimes the marker is very permanent.
It's permanent, my dear.
They've dyed it.
So, sometimes it's at the rest.
They've dyed it. You don't hear me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's like, yes, and I think, speaking of red flags, right? It's important to understand the difference between somebody did something one time that was out of character, or maybe it was even in character, but it was like it's not, it's not something that is consistent, you know. But when you see that consistency, again, I say that consistency, the more consistent it is, the more permanent the red flag, you know, the redness of the flag is.
That's true. That's
so
true.
when you see that it is part and parcel of who they are, and this is not to say, I know people have you know, weird feelings about the term people change, or people don't change, or people never change.
Yeah,
I still don't know how I feel about that.
That's something I even wanted to address. Like,
I still don't know
I'm
how
talking
I
about
feel
like
about that.
people now, like people, or like I won't say girls.
Like, do you feel
okay.
like people never change?
I won't say people never change, right? So to speak. But like a lot of people have the ideology of like they get into a relationship and I can change this person, right? They're always of the. I feel like you're under this on this table
I'm not
because
it's not my whole
Chubby,
body is not on the table.
yo, just your leg or your hand
But
because I
yes.
feel like you're a key holder, shareholder
I'm a
of this
shareholder.
table that we're talking
Yes,
about.
yes.
They feel like they
It's
can enter the relationship and then
International Fixers
they will go and wash.
LTD.
They will wash the flag, or they will take the flag to mountain and pray. Then
yeah.
the flag will not change
Yeah,
color.
yeah.
The flag is always there to stay.
I know,
my sister.
I know. Sometimes you feel as though you connect to something in the person. A toxic person is not always toxic 24/7.
Yeah.
They're the good moments.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
That's the problem.
That's the anchor.
That's the problem.
Because you hold on to that good moment, and it's like, once you find it, obviously it's usually at the beginning. That's how they pull you in.
Yeah.
And then they start to gallivant and misbehave. But whilst they're gallivanting and
They will
misbehaving,
still show you. They will still shadow that.
they will
you
shadow
know.
it, or sometimes you shadow it in your mind. You remember the good moments. You
I'll
just
be
sit
like,
down and just be doing daydreaming.
oh my God.
If only I can get
If
him back
only.
to
Oh
how
my
he was
God.
that time when we first met. If only I can. There's nothing like if only.
There's nothing like that.
You know, one time I even had to have a conversation with myself that, look, Chubby, that person that you first met, it wasn't even him. It wasn't. It was a lot of it was. A lot of it was filling in the gaps.
It was fictitious, right?
It was fictitious. It wasn't even him. You know, the niceness, the word, the water. It wasn't even. So like that happens sometimes,
True,
and you hold on to the good version of him or her. Let's be equal here. That's the thing, right? Because obviously it wasn't entirely toxic the entire time.
Yeah. Like they pulled you in with that.
Pulled you in. There's a reason you got there in the first place, you know. So whether it's at the beginning or whether it's momentarily throughout, they have those good moments where it's like, oh, if only he or she
could
be like this all the time. When you see the toxicity, you're like, oh, if only I could get them back to that place where they were before. And that's how you end up staying there, suffering under Pontius Pilate. because you're looking for that positive version of who they were.
Oh, you're not Jesus, though.
That won't save day.
You are not Jesus, my dear.
Yeah.
You can't save the world.
No,
you can't really save the world.
That's why it's important to free yourself of that like savior complex.
Exactly.
Or that fix him complex.
Exactly.
You know?
Everybody wants to have that, you know, I can be the change.
Yes.
They feel like they're so positive that they can incite that positivity in another person,
and
which
let me shake,
I am not denying.
Let me
because
shake a table now.
You can shake.
Myself included sometimes.
Okay.
Check your ego. Because who are you? Who are you that this person that has been moving mad from time is now going to decide that?
I disagree with you there.
Why? Tell me.
I disagree with you because I feel like I'm all that, first of all. Like, come through.
All right.
I feel like I'm all that. Yeah. But like, no, in all actuality, I feel like who am I not to be able to do this?
No, but that's the problem, because sometimes it has nothing to do with you. So when I say who are you, I mean it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, I know it does. Yeah. Like sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with me, but I feel like I owe it to whatever person I meet to live their life. You know, even though I'm leaving them, right? I need to leave with a positive impact.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like some people are wired differently, but me, I'm just like that.
Yeah.
And not for the sole purpose of what were you gonna say? I know you have something.
Yes, because I was going to say the entire point of it is, sometimes it's not about you. They're not behaving that way because you're not good enough or because you haven't done this or you haven't done that. So sometimes there's nothing that you're going to do.
I understand that fact. I do realize that all the time it's not about me, or some of the time it's not even about me. But I have this complex of, like, if I'm with someone, if I'm in a relationship with someone, whether friendship or intimate, whatever, like, I feel like I have to live your life. No, not live, like I have to leave you.
Leave them.
I have to leave you with like a positive impact, like for life. Like even though we don't end up together, I want you to still talk about me, your relationship, about how this person treated you.
So I get that, and I think that is quite good for a situation or a scenario where someone is somewhat receptive to change or willing to be better or improve. there are certain scenarios in which no matter how much you just end up doing yourself more damage by staying there trying to help.
I don't think I do myself damage. Like, I know my limits.
That's it.
Exactly.
It's important to know your limits.
I know my limits. Yeah. So I can be with someone and in 2 or 3 weeks I can determine if they want to change or not.
Okay.
I can be with someone and I feel like, you know, they are ready to change, and even in 4 or 5 or 6 months they haven't changed, and I'm still there because I can see that they're trying. Do you understand? I can see that they're putting in the work.
There's some level of commitment.
Do you understand? There's some level of commitment to try and change. I will still be there even though they still like represent or show those toxic traits like sometimes in the future. But the fact that I've seen that ability to change is what is going to keep me there and say, okay, we can sort through this.
So you've spoken about limits, right? So that's now making me think about how do you when it's time to close the door and say this is the end. This is it.
This is the end. We're leaving.
And it's time to leave because you know leaving a toxic person is different from leaving.
It's very hard.
It's
very hard.
So like
I've had like crazy exes in the past. Like I've had a girl that, you know, like she started calling my friends. You know, like I tried to like block her on different places, but she started calling my friends and like
telling them what?
Like I don't know, threatening them, like if you don't give me this person's number, I'll find you, I'll cut you. I'm dead ass serious. I will find you, like I will cut you, like telling them to kill them or like throw knives at them, like some crazy G.I. Joe shit.
Mad.
I'm telling you. So like I can imagine or picture what even other people might be going through in some toxic situations. I heard of a girl, right, that came out with a story that said, you know, her man has been beating her, like he bamboozled her. Right? Do you understand? Like this is even like not marriage now. It's like boyfriend and girlfriend. Boyfriend and girlfriend. So
not that you should beat anybody in the marriage.
Please, exactly. So this guy, he's some low-key celeb or whatever. I don't know whether he's a comedian, artist, something. So he's like in the public eye, right? And this girl, she's like an up-and-coming Instagram person or like Twitter, you know, like influencer. So something like that.
Content creator.
So as in. The thing is, this guy beats her like not even occasionally, like on a regular basis, and he's like, nothing will happen because I am a superstar. Do you understand?
And also, they sometimes feel like if you've stayed here this long,
you are not going anywhere. Do you understand? So that is very difficult to navigate. And like I can't even put out a blanket statement because it's not one size fits all. Everybody has different levels of monsters that you're living with. So
the one thing I want to say about leaving toxic situations and toxic people though is this. Sometimes people keep going back or they don't leave as quickly because sometimes they feel they need closure, right? Sometimes they feel it's almost like one last attempt to reach them or to try and make sense of it. Why did you treat me this way? And they're like, I just want closure, I just want closure. Excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma. Sometimes your closure is in the outside.
It's in your house.
It's not inside that place.
It's in your house.
It's in a different location.
It's a different position, my dear. Go and look for it outside of that vicinity.
Your closure sometimes is inside you. It's by yourself.
It's by your own self because
sometimes your closure is there.
My dear. It's a need.
Because the problem with toxic people now is this. Sometimes they don't want to lose control. If they sense that you're trying to leave, they know exactly what you need to hear.
To stay, to keep you there.
Is it love?
It's not love.
It's not love. If it's there temporarily, it doesn't make sense. So if they just say what you need to hear just for you to stay there, then what's the point? They know. So sometimes seeking closure is an opening for them to continue the journey of toxicity.
And that's hard though, because if I heard, like in a case where that person is going through something like this, and like, okay, for example, you know, like you talked about being controlling a lot. Like I've seen situations where, you know, somebody has had it up to here with their toxic partner, and they're trying to get out, and like, you know, they're seeking help from friends, and like, you know, help me, or like this person is like, do you understand? When you text that person, that one best friend that you have, like, do you understand? I need help, that kind of thing. And this person is like seizing your phone, you know, taking your gadgets away from you, and like, you know, like just cutting you off from the world. Because
that's a toxic trait as well. That's one of the flagships.
That is the highest, like,
cutting you off from the world, separating you from your friends.
From your friends, like, you shouldn't hang out with this person. I want you to do this. I want you to start doing, like, if you met me a certain way,
Some people don't want to hear this thing you're about to
If
say.
you met me, I should like I'm there.
Some people don't
I'm
want to
there.
hear
Should I
this.
continue
No,
with
no,
this?
you can proceed. Let me clear the road. Let me clear the road.
I
Let
want
me
to
clear the road.
continue
You
because
go,
I'm on the road.
Carry go.
I'm on the road.
Carry go.
So if you met me a certain way and you fell in love with me or you claim to love me in that state that I was, why do you feel the need to change me?
Can I play devil's advocate?
Please do.
Devil's advocate is this, and as I'm doing the devil's advocate, I'm going to fight devil's advocate.
Please do.
Okay. Devil's advocate is, but when I met you, you were single. So obviously you could have been doing ABCD. Now you're in a relationship with me, so obviously you need to move differently. You need to da-da-da-da-da. Let's be clear here. When we say if you met me a certain way, we're not talking about, superficial, casual, just... we're talking about fundamental traits of who I am.
Yeah.
If when you met
My
me,
persona.
I was an outgoing, social, fun-loving person, which is probably what even attracted you to me.
Exactly, in the
If
first
that's how
place.
you met me, I was standing on the table.
I was twerking
And
my
I was
ass.
ushering my back.
As in,
Don't expect that
to
now
come and
once
ask-
we're together.
I will not be sleeping inside the house morning, afternoon, and night.
I'm not going
Oh, yeah,
anywhere.
go out this. I will not go out.
No.
Are you? Is something wrong with
Are
you?
you alright, sir?
Are you mad?
You feel me? You're a road man sometimes. You're a road man sometimes.
Don't
You're a road
know.
man
Don't know.
You know
Get
what I'm
me.
saying? Like, so it's those fundamental things.
Yeah.
If you know that that is not, if you know that you want to marry Sister Mary Margaret, and that's who you want, then when you are dating, be looking for
looking for
Sister
her.
Mary Margaret.
Go to Deeper Life
and she's
and
not,
find
she
her,
might
my
not
dear.
be on the table.
She will not be in the.
She might not be in the
Go
club.
and find out where she is.
This is not saying Mary Margaret doesn't go to the club, but she might not be in the club. You feel me?
How many Margarets have you found in the club?
I don't know. You know? So it's those things as well. So like when you're leaving, I think sometimes you just need to be realistic with yourself. That if I try to seek closure, I am just providing an opening for this thing to continue.
To continue, yeah.
Sometimes
it's a
you
myth.
just need
Closure
to
is a
leave.
myth.
You just need to.
Yeah.
And another thing to touch on is that where it's hard sometimes is that toxicity has different faces. Not all toxic people are angry all the time. Or even malicious sometimes, come across as, openly malicious about it. Sometimes they do it under the guise of, is how much I love you. Is
Toxic
care,
people are
is
loving.
consideration, is
If you
love.
see the love, they will shower on you.
And that's why a lot of people feel like, I've never been in a relationship where someone cared about me this much, so I don't want to leave. Because I was going to ask, why do people get into those relationships in the first place? Because like from the beginning, sometimes you start seeing a few red flags here and there. But
they kind of compare and contrast with the fact that they've never seen love like this before.
Exactly.
These people love
I've
more than the
never
even
been in-
average person that's loving you for who you are.
Sure, the last person hit me physically, or the last person did this.
But
At
this
least
one
has never touched me.
He has never touched me. He's only taking my devices from me and locking me in the house. I think I should just follow his wishes or follow her wishes.
It's
Do you
only
understand?
verbal. It's only emotional. It's not physical. I don't have any scars. But he's making you feel bad about yourself. He's making you feel insecure. You're about to leave the house. He's looking at you and he's
You are fat or you had this.
No, sometimes not even that. Sometimes it's, are you sure you want to wear that? Are you sure you want to wear that? Do you like the way you look?
Those are the manipulators.
Do you like the way you look in that outfit?
Those are manipulators.
And you say, what's wrong with it? You say, no. If you feel it's okay, wear it.
If you're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
If you're okay with it, wear it.
And you now sit down there and be doing times and minus. Come,
long division.
am I really okay
if I
with
carry
this
the two
and if I
and add it to this skirt, is it equal to decent?
Like, I don't know.
You understand?
And you be fighting with yourself in your head.
So
meanwhile, they are drinking Capri Sun on the chair.
Yes.
And what they've done, what they wanted to do to you, they've done it.
What they wanted to do is this person is not going anywhere.
True.
But I'm going to make it seem like it's not my idea, it's her own idea.
Those are master manipulators. My brother, my sister. Run!
You need to leave. You need to leave. Like, so that's an issue. Now let's flip the script a little bit.
All right.
Let's flip the script. How do you identify when you're the toxic one?
Oof.
How do you identify when you're the one that is misbehaving?
I think
because now we've said that it's not always openly malicious, right? It doesn't always come from a place of I'm going to.
This is definitely an internal battle, right? Like, you need to be so honest with yourself to the point where you're like, I want to change who I am. Like, you know that what you're doing is wrong. I think there's some people that just genuinely, like, I'm not living in anybody's mind, but I feel like there's some people that just genuinely feel like they don't see anything wrong with
with
what they're doing.
Yeah,
Do you understand?
yeah. Do you know why? Because obviously, in order for you to do it, you kind of rationalized it somewhere.
Exactly. You have to like rationalize it to say like this is okay to a certain degree that you're doing this or you're doing this for the betterment of your partner.
Yes.
It is wrong completely.
A lot of it comes from that. So it's not. I'm doing it for you. I'm
For
trying to make you a better
exactly,
person. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So I think it's just like reading the signs, like being honest with yourself and reading the signs from your partner, right? So like you take a decision on their behalf, or you are taking a decision with them in mind,
Yes.
so to speak, quote unquote, and then you know their reaction is not 100%. It's not in the direction you want it to be going,
Yes,
right?
yes.
They are reluctant, they are pushy,
Yeah.
they are sad after that,
Yeah.
they are depressed after that. Like you need to be monitoring those signs as well yourself.
And hold yourself
accountable. So
Yeah.
like if you are actually caring for this person, if you say you care for this person, you need to look at the signs, look at what is going on after you've prescribed your whatever, advice or treatment or whatever you have given to them.
Yeah.
And are they okay with it themselves? Can we talk about this?
Exactly.
Like, are you comfortable with
Yes.
this? Do you understand? You need to always. I don't care if you're married, though, like because there's this dirty insinuation.
That's what.
Like, in fact, this one is a heavy table because the people on this table, there are plenty.
Please, yeah, so yeah.
There are some people that say, "I'm married to this person, or I paid your bride price, then you are mine." And you are my property.
Because I look like a
Do you
footstool.
understand? So what I say goes, or what I put down when I lay down the law, I am the law in this house.
That's true.
Some people really feel like when they are married, they are like God, they are above and beyond, which is completely
because
trash.
it's that thing of you're not going anywhere.
You are not going anywhere.
Because divorce is a taboo in our society.
In Nigerian culture, in African culture,
You are not going anywhere.
you are not going anywhere. What,
Yeah.
you want to leave me and go back to your mother's house? What will people say?
And again, if the marriage
What will people
dissolves,
say?
they will blame you, madam, before they blame you. They'll say you couldn't hold your home together.
You couldn't put the...
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. So you now be tolerating toxicity. And do you know what again? Sometimes they tolerate that shit because they've been taught to. And it's come from up above. Sometimes you see parents.
It's coming from...
Do you know we can have toxic relationships with our parents as well?
Yes!
Do you know our parents can be quite toxic?
Yes! Like 100%.
This is not to say they don't love us, so. This is not to say they don't love us. This is not to say they don't care about us. This is not to say they won't take a bullet for us.
True.
But sometimes...
But it's just in their nature. It's just that archaic thing in their nature.
Yes.
And the times that they grew up in.
Yes.
So
it's not completely uncommon that even in a situation that you just referred to about the marriage isn't quite working, the husband is toxic or the wife is toxic, the parents might now even be there saying you should stay there.
Like a situation where the husband is at fault or like the husband is cheating or something, and then the parents are like, no, you can't leave because this person has bettered your life, or this person has bought a house for you, he has bought a car for you, so he's entitled to. Some parents actually enable that for their kids.
Exactly.
Which is very, like in that situation, you're facing oppression, you're facing toxicity from your partner directly on a direct scale, and you're facing pressure from up above, and you're also facing pressure from society as a whole. Because
so
they are gonna
caged. You feel
trapped.
caged. Yeah, you feel
You're
trapped.
trapped.
Yeah, you feel trapped. Yeah. And the other thing when I think about parents and toxicity, the other thing I think about a situation.
Before you get there, I think I want to just touch on this a bit. Like those people, right?
Yes.
That we talked about saying they're being caged.
Yes.
Like if you're listening to this, I just need you to know that you are not caged.
You are not.
You are not in a cage. You are a free bird. You were born to fly.
Yep.
Like listen to that tiny voice in your head. That one that says you are sane, you are all right, that all these people are crazy. Yes, that's the voice you should listen to, that
And
tiny one.
It is important to know that you can be in a room full of 50, 100 people. They can all be saying the same thing. You're saying something different, and you're the one that is sane.
And you are the one that is sane. So don't look at yourself as insane at any point. There's no point in which you say, oh, maybe they are right. Or I think what they are saying is making sense.
They're not right, so.
They are not right. Listen to that tiny voice in your head that says, run. No.
They're not right.
Run.
Just because they have a gang doesn't mean they're right.
Exactly.
Just because they formed groups doesn't mean they're right.
You have this chance to escape. Take your chances and leave.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
not for you.
Absolutely. Thinking about parents and thinking about toxicity, the other thing I thought about is, that mentality of, again, like how you're saying in a marriage and they say you're my property. Parents have their own version sometimes. Their own of, I did everything for you. I paid your school fees. I sent you to school. I fed you. I bathed you. Do you know how many times I went without just so you could have? Now, I'm not saying we should not be grateful to our parents for giving us a good life. Okay? But I'm not saying we shouldn't be grateful for the sacrifices. What I am asking, though, is does that mean that because they did those things for us, whatever they say goes, and they have to hold us hostage emotionally for the rest of our lives?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, hell no. He said no.
Oh, hell no, sis.
So your parent is asking you to do something that is strongly against who you are as a person. You don't want to do it, or they're just treating you badly, and they just expect you to take it because do you know what I've done for you? If not for me, do you think you would have gone to that school? Oh, Dr. This. Because you're a doctor now, Abi. Because you're a lawyer.
Engineer this.
Do you know how many times? Do you
understand? How many months I fed you?
And it's almost like you owe me. Do you think we owe our parents?
I don't think we owe them shit. I'm sorry.
Let me drink my juice.
I don't think we owe them shit. Like, not in that sense, so to speak, right?
I know you're not saying don't be grateful.
Exactly. I'm not saying don't be grateful, but like, some people fail to realize that our parents are grown as adults as well, and they had the chance to map out their lives, right? Do you understand? So their responsibility is not our responsibility. Do you understand? The moment they birthed you, they brought a new, different life, a new individual into this world with different tastes, with different interests, with different hobbies. Do you understand? So you are your different dreams. So you are your own person. You are not living life for another person. You are not an extension of their lives. You're not a continuation of them.
And what makes me upset sometimes is people fail to realize, and I know this might come across as a bit selfish, but nobody really asked to be born. Nobody really asked to be born.
I've asked myself that question like a couple of times. Yeah.
This is not saying you're not enjoying the life now that you have it too. But nobody really asked to be born. Your parents decided to, whether they decided, whether they didn't decide, and it was just one night when
y'all bust out. Y'all I don't laugh.
That was everything. But nobody really asked to be born, and your parents brought you into this world. So I feel like when you bring someone into this world, I know somebody might say, it's easy for you to say you don't yet have children or whatever. I know I don't know everything. But when you bring someone into it, surely there is a responsibility.
You owe them that responsibility to take care of that life, or to care for that child till they become an adult, till they are of reasonable thinking age of their
because it seems like some parents think is down payments.
What they are doing is an investment in your life, and I have to come and repeat in 20 years when you're now a barrister, and you have to come and be giving me monthly checks. Nobody is entitled to that. I think that's the best word. There's no entitlement as a parent, right? You don't have any. You should, as a parent, you should start planning your kids' life. If you want to have kids, plan your kids' life, plan your kids' futures, right? From time, and then also plan your own retirement. Plan your own. Do you understand? Plan your own. Your kids are not a retirement plan.
For a lot of people, they are.
Your kids are not your like. That's what people don't know. In this Nigerian society, in this African society, right? People think that children are investments in their lives. They just give birth continuously so that one of them, at least one inside must get money.
They say if you roll the dice, you will get 6.
You must get double 6 one day. So some people that are not even well-to-do, that don't have it all together, they just keep giving birth with no means of funding these children's lives, and just assume that okay, the more the merrier. If I throw more out in the ocean, at least one net will catch.
And it's highly manipulative when they do that. It's highly manipulative when they do that.
It's toxic,
and when you have that relationship where. Then there's now a husband, he now marries this wife, but his mother is always present and is, do you know how she suffered for me? Do you know how she suffered for me? No, she needs to be, every decision that we're making, I had to run it.
You have to include, no sis. They're not entitled to my life. They're not entitled to your life. Do you understand? They had their own lives to live as adults. Whatever you are giving to them is a show of gratitude, right? It should be something that you are comfortable with. Let it be from gratitude.
Let it be from love.
Exactly, from love, not because I have to, or like if I don't do it, they will see me as a bad person. No, it should just be from your heart because you are grateful for the life that they gave you.
I agree with that.
As simple as that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you see toxicity, please run.
I think we've actually had like an extensive conversation on this, right?
Yeah, we have.
I really do. This sparks like a couple of conversations in some homes.
I hope so.
Right? Yeah. Especially with parents, especially with partners, and all across the board in general.
Yeah, I really hope so. And I hope it sparks like not even just conversations with other people, but like internal dialogue as well. Like I hope people will sit down and actually
just be introspective.
Yes,
yeah.
be introspective and, you know, become more self-aware as to what they might be doing that might be classed as toxic, or
True.
what other people are doing to them, and actually being objective. I know sometimes it's hard, but be objective about the situations you're in.
True.
Yes, there's some good moments, but the good moments are only there
Like
as
rate
bait.
yourself. Rate yourself
It's
as
important
well.
to know the difference in a good moment that is a good moment and a good moment that is just baiting you to bad
You.
moments.
Yeah.
Or for bad moments.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that. So I think we've covered a few things. I think we've touched on a few things.
That's right.
We hope this sparks some interesting conversations.
We hope we do.
We really hope that you'll share with us what you think. If you've had any experiences that we've kind of touched on here, if anything kind of resonated with you, please let us know. And thank you for spending time with us, for listening to this, for watching this. Thank you for being part of this journey that we're going on. And we hope to see you on the next episode.
That's
All
right. And then we're out. Peace.
Don't f with me.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Don't F With Me Pod.
Don't hug the couch, my friend.
No, for
Move
you.
over.
Okay.
So we're also on all major podcast platforms. So find us there, and you can see the links to our YouTube. So subscribe, right?
Yeah.
Alright.
Should we tell them where to find us individually as well? Because
Yeah,
I don't want to be with you
sure.
all the time, you understand?
yeah.
On my own thing. All right, so if you're looking for me, you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Chubby_oddly.
Okay, if you're looking for me, you can find me on Instagram at og.tega. So that's og.tega, and Twitter as the OG Tega. Boom.
Are we spelling? Oh, Chubby as in Chubby, and then _ODDLY.
Why do you have to copy me
I just want
all
people
the
to know that I
time?
can spell
Like,
too.
why do you have to
I
be
just
like
want them
me,
to know that
though?
I can spell.
Why do you really have to be like me all the time?
All right, I need to get out of
I
here.
hate you.
Don't f with me.